What I'd like to do tonight is basically go over the rules presentation that you have seen online. The question was, are all the meetings going to be recorded for uploading? And the answer is, they could be. What I'm going to ask the various associations to do is if they would like to put together a presentation, we will be happy to upload it on a topic to do with the rules or anything in general having to do with wrestling mechanics. We'll be happy to do that. So if anybody has any ideas, please reach out to me and I'll make sure that we get it done. And that goes for our viewers across the state, our sister local associations. I'll be reaching out to you as well and asking if you have any topics that you'd like to present, and we will make sure that we get that uploaded for local meeting credit. Okay. The wrestling rules for this year, as always, I remember Vince and Ray always used to tell us, if you don't like the rules, there's an opportunity at the end of the season to submit a rules proposal, and that is, submitted to one of the SRIs or to the OHSAA office down in Columbus, and if it warrants bumping it up to the National Federation level, we will do that. Okay, here's the calendar of events for this season. The dates are perhaps subject to change depending on how the COVID situation goes, but right now this is the plan. This is the two gentlemen here that you see, Bo Rugg and Tyler Brooks, are the people in charge of managing officiating in the state. Tyler Brooks, he's the gentleman that oversees wrestling. If you have any administrative questions, don't come to me, don't come to the SRIs. They should go through Tyler, either via email, preferably. For example, there might be weight administration issues. Officials don't handle that, okay? Any question that you get from a coach, either refer the coach to his AD, who in turn will go to Tyler, or the coach could talk to Tyler directly. But, that's not our bailiwick, okay? If it's an administrative issue, we go to the OHSAA office, and specifically to Tyler Brooks. SRIs, I think you know who we are. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to any of us, okay? What we discourage, though, is forum shopping. If you don't like the answer that you hear from me, you might go to Ray, and maybe Ray will give you a different answer. No, we communicate. We make sure that we're all on the same page before we interpret a rule. And if we don't know the answer, we kick it up to the National Federation level. Okay, this year the undergarment rule has been changed, just slightly to accommodate our female wrestlers. The female wrestler has to have a suitable undergarment that covers the buttocks and the crotch area, as well as the breasts. Now, if the female wrestler would like to wear a singlet, a compression shirt can be worn with that singlet, and but a suitable undergarment has to be under the singlet per se, i.e. it could be a sports bra or something that's compression fitted that covers the breasts. And similar to last year, but slightly different in terms of the definition. Technical violation. I like to call this the Tony Indiana rule. I don't know if you know the story, but long time ago at the Mentor District, the shoe came off, and I think Tony handled it correctly, but that's a rule that finally the National Federation has adopted. It has not changed in Ohio. It's been in effect, I think, for at least 10 years now, and basically the National Federation saw it our way, and if the shoe comes off, regardless if the offensive guy is tugging on it, it will be a technical violation. The match will be stopped, the injury clock will be started, and the wrestler will put the shoe back on and securely tie it. So it's assumed if the shoe comes off, it's not securely fastened. So, that's on the wrestler. There was a question from one of the associations, well, what if, the offensive wrestler is tugging on it and it comes off? Well, it doesn't matter because that's part of wrestling. And, how are we going to determine whether it was purposely, pulled off, or the offensive wrestler was trying to pull it off on purpose to get the penalty call, the technical violation call. So if it comes off, it's assumed that it wasn't properly secured. The question is it a delayed call if the shoe comes off? Well, no, obviously if they're right in the middle of a scoring situation, if it's detrimental to the offensive wrestler, you're going to let that continue until the situation ends. But, obviously, just like a clasp, if it's in the midst of a scoring situation, you hold your call until, it's over. But unlike a clasp, you don't call it on the fly. You stop the match. Obviously, if it comes off, you have to administer the penalty. But the shoe is not part of the clothing. It's not clasping. You're allowed to, hold on to the shoe, grab an ankle. Now, if you saw a wrestler trying to untie a shoe, or if you saw a wrestler trying to undo the legal securing means, heck yeah, hit him with unsportsmanlike. Okay, hair modification rule. All the restrictions are off. The hair could be any style. One thing that you should realize, though, the sideburn rule is still in place, okay? You could have hair as long as you want, but remember, guys and gals, the sideburns can't be below the earlobe, so that's something to keep in mind. Obviously, facial hair is permitted if you wear a face mask. If there's a mustache, it can't be below the upper lip, and make sure that it's nice and trimmed. Wrestler who has long hair, if he or she decides to wear a hair cover, same as always, okay? The hair cover has to be secured to the ear guards or the headgear. It has to be of a solid material, and it cannot be abrasive, so nothing has changed there. The question is, or was, what happens if the hair is pulled? And if it was pulled on purpose to gain an advantage, that's unsportsmanlike conduct, and it's a penalty point. However, if it's for example, long hair on the neck, you throw in a half and the hair gets caught in the hand, no, that's not considered unsportsmanlike conduct. You let that go because that's during the course of wrestling. If it's in the middle of a scoring situation, you got to be very careful of stopping that match. Use your discretion. Okay, getting back to the physical hair treatment devices, as I mentioned before, like last year, they can be used, but they cannot be sharp, they can't be hard, and they have to be applied or fixed in such a way so as the fingers don't get caught in them. So, no change from last year. Hair fixatives or hair gels are illegal. Greasy substances in the hair, as always, have been illegal. Some of these hair fixatives, they go on as a spray, but they dry as a hardened film. So you've got to be very careful to make sure that doesn't sneak through when you're doing your grooming checks. Okay, the weigh-in rule has been significantly changed this year. Back last year, female wrestlers weighed in front of a female administrator or trainer or a team mom, and the male wrestlers were normally checked by the official in charge. That is no longer necessary because both male and female wrestlers are to weigh in with their singlet, with suitable undergarments. So weigh-ins could be conducted sort of in a non-gender way, such that male and female jump on the scale and could be weighed in either by administrator or the official, and you don't have to make sure that if there are female wrestlers involved, that you have a female doing the weigh-ins. And there's no weight allowance for the uniform. And this year we're going to have some weigh-in recommendations, and they'll be coming out of the OHSAA office within a week or so, and I think it'll all make sense at that time. Skin checks are separate from weigh-ins. They're two different events. They could be done prior to or after. They could be done with the uniform. So you could do sort of unisex skin checks if you desire. And if you suspect a skin condition, for example, you're handed a note, then you might want to take a male wrestler off the side for further scrutiny. If you suspect something, because they're going to have their uniform on. If you think there might be a skin condition underneath the uniform, you could take them out of line. I take them to a separate area that's private and check out the condition. Now, for a female wrestler, you can't do that, guys. Just like in years past, a female administrator, a female trainer, or a team mom would be the people that I would rely on to do the skin checks if you suspect something, or if you just want to do the skin checks out of an abundance of caution, the old-fashioned way. That's up to you officials. My preference is the old-fashioned way, because then you take any condition that might be hidden under the uniform, and you can make your call on that. But again, that's not necessary anymore. Again, contestants, this is not gender specific anymore. If it's a dual meet, they are to weigh in a maximum of 1 hour before the scheduled event. If it's a tournament, maximum of 2 hours before the scheduled tournament. Now, this year, some schools are running what they call split tournaments. They split 106 up to 145 will come in for a morning session and wrestle through, and 152 through 285 will come in the afternoon session and wrestle right through. And the question is, what do you do about weigh-ins? Because weigh-ins are a maximum of 2 hours before the scheduled event. What we're going to allow this year, and this will be coming out, is from Tyler's office, is we're going to allow weigh-ins for both sessions at the first session. Again, having the weigh-ins with uniforms on and having a unisex weigh-in, a male or female could administer weigh-ins now. And before, as you know, it was gender specific, and the whole idea is to accommodate our female wrestlers and make sure that we streamline the process of our weigh-ins, and I think it really is going to help. Again, wrestlers shall weigh in wearing their legal uniform, no shoes, no headgear, low-cut socks if they desire. This addresses the pulling of the hair. If it's intentional, it's deemed unnecessary roughness, and the appropriate penalty is administered. If it happens because of incidental legal moves, for example, the half or the cradle, and the hair gets caught and pulled slightly, there's no penalty there. But obviously, if the defensive wrestler is put at peril, you want to address it appropriately. The question is, what happens if you're being pinned and you pull the top man's or top lady's hair? Again, you would treat it as any unnecessary roughness or unsportsmanlike penalty during a pinning situation. New definition for fleeing the mat. Two situations: if near fall points are earned or if a takedown is earned, there can be no double jeopardy for fleeing the mat. Back in the day, you could penalize for fleeing the mat as well as awarding the takedown, but that has been taken out of the rule book. If a reversal is executed, the offensive wrestler who is potentially being reversed decides to flee the mat, and the defensive wrestler who is executing the, let's say, a switch, is successful and his feet are in bounds. Can you award 2 and 1? Yes. The answer is yes. That is not mentioned in the rule book, so I sort of took it up the flagpole to the National Federation. Jim Vreeland and I, discussed it, and the answer is yes. I have a feeling that maybe next year they'll close that loophole, but for this year, you can award 2 for the reversal, and the flea as well. In addition, let's say you're in the middle of a switch, a reversal is imminent, but the offensive wrestler goes out of bounds to avoid the situation. You could award 1 for the escape, if the buzzer rang or they made it out of bounds, and 1 for the flea as well. New this year is the 4th penalty for stalling. Back in the day, we awarded 2 on the fly, and on the next restart, we would give the opponent choice of position. But a lot of times that happens in the 3rd period, and the stall call happens and the match ends. And basically the offended wrestler did not have a chance or an opportunity for the restart. Even if you're in the rear standing position and you're calling that forced stalling, stop the match and award the 2 and let the opponent have a choice of position. Imminent scoring. If there's an injury and the official thinks that there's going to be a imminent score that would have happened if there wasn't an injury, the official could award the imminent takedown, reversal, so on and so forth. Now, that doesn't change anything with the imminent near fall. The question was, I'm sorry, what about blood time? If scoring appears to be imminent and you see bleeding, it's not covered by rule. So consequently, it's just injury. Basically, this is the rule. And obviously, you want to charge the injury time, run that clock and charge the injury time as well as award the imminent scoring points. This next set of slides is just going to be on editorial changes that the National Federation made, but some of them, help us understand the rules better. The first one is ear guards, beginning next summer, July 1st, I believe. The logo, there could only be 1 on the ear guards, and it can't be more than 2 1/4 inch square. So if there's a manufacturer's logo and a sponsor wants to put their logo on the ear guard, it has to be one or the other. So that's generally not for us to worry about, but it's going to be instituted next year. And basically, this is just a editorial change. It just is a way to reconcile this rule 524D with 764D. Basically, just so the language is the same for stalling under both rules. HNC is a little different the way it is administered this year. As you recall, last year, if there was HNC requested by the trainer or medical professional who is designated medical professional who is assigned to the match, we ran the HNC clock, and that was sort of a freebie injury time, okay? This year, let's follow this scenario. Wrestler A is being taken down, and takes down Wrestler B is taking down Wrestler A, and Wrestler A requests injury time because he's holding his or her head. The injury clock starts, okay? It's starting to tick down. There's a trainer on site who is the designated medical professional. Comes to the mat and requests HNC evaluation time. Immediately, the official should indicate HNC, go to the table, record the amount of injury time that has ticked off, and that counts. Let's say it's 20 seconds. that counts as the first injury time. So that's recorded as the first injury time. And it's 20 seconds, so that means that the healthcare professional has a 4 minutes and 40 seconds left to evaluate HNC. So that's the way it's going to be administered this year. And believe me, all 50 states were administering HNC differently last year, so this is an attempt to bring us back to the same page. The question is, let's say, as Brad mentioned, there's a 30-second first injury time that didn't involve HNC, and he burned 30 seconds of regular injury time. Then there's a second HNC-related injury time. The question is, how much HNC time is left? Does he get the full 5 minutes, or do you subtract the 30 seconds accrued from the first injury time against the HNC? And the answer is yes.
You do subtract that.
You do subtract that. And so I will confirm that just to make sure, because a couple, in the green book there are a couple scenarios. I think it's on page 23 that we put in there. So one of those situations might fall under that, but I will confirm that and make sure that all the secretaries get the interpretation on that. Now remember this. Yes, Marcy, good point. Once HNC is requested, the regular injury clock stops. That is correct. The comment was, once you see an injury, okay, whether it's a head, two heads butting or not, you start the injury clock. You cannot start HNC as an official. It's not within our purview. It's only a request from the designated on-site medical professional. That's the only person in the gym who could request HNC. So even if we see two heads come together, Rustler falls to the mat, what we should be thinking, are there symptoms of a concussion? Okay? So, symptoms, behaviors, etc., attendant to a concussion. That should be, our first thought. And if we feel that there is the symptoms of a concussion, it's incumbent upon us, because of state law, to terminate that match. Regardless if the trainer comes over and says, oh no, that's HNC, I'm evaluating it. But if you do heart of hearts, we take the training. If we feel that there are symptoms and behaviors attendant to a concussion, the match is terminated. The question was, what happens if they butted heads and there was blood time involved? One of the wrestlers is bleeding. Blood time, as we all know, supersedes injury time. The comment was, make sure that the bleeding is taken care of and stopped. And once that is taken care of, then if additional time needs to be evaluated for HNC, then you could do that as well. But on the converse of that, HNC evaluation is very important, and I'm not so sure that you want to delay that evaluation to get the blood stopped. But again, those are good scenarios. Okay, importantly, and particularly in this day and age, the National Federation wants to hit home that the head coach, is ultimately responsible to ensure that his or her wrestlers are legally equipped and ready to wrestle. So that's a question that we as officials should be asking of both coaches if it's a duel, if their wrestlers are legally equipped and ready to wrestle. And that's just what the National Federation wants us to emphasize. And again, this is one of those points of emphasis that they come out from year to year. These next series of 9 slides is more for facility management and management of the wrestling room. I don't think is apropos to what we do as officials. So I am really not going to go through all these slides. The next 9 slides, I think they make sense. These are things that I think coaches are should be looking towards accomplishing in this day and age. Now, having said that, I will just go through these series of slides. And again, I want to end with sportsmanship, okay? That's something that is very important to our young athletes. It's something important for us as officials to be good role models. And when we do see an unsportsmanlike act, is to be right on it and penalize accordingly. Likewise, if you see acts of good sportsmanship, make sure that you acknowledge that and bring it to the attention of the wrestlers and the coach and the AD. And if you want, write the school. Let them know. That's part of our job. That's part of our mission. And National Federation, the Ohio High School Athletic Association, we want to emphasize good sportsmanship, and we as officials need to be on the front line and encourage that. These next slides are basically, what we could do to prepare us for the season, and remember the concussion protocol. Review it. If you haven't renewed your concussion protocol training, make sure you do that. Make sure that you understand that if you suspect signs or symptoms of or behaviors of a concussion, that the match is terminated, and it's incumbent upon us to make sure that happens. Otherwise, we're breaking state law, so we want to make sure that we keep on top of that. Make sure you read your rule books, your case books, and this referee magazine insert to the rules is very good. It brings things home.